Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be first at something. But before we do that, I just wanted to note that there are several of us who've recently been moving. We're getting to that point of time where there's a transition between states and where we live. Um, and moving can be a very exciting time. It can be frightening. It's frustrating, and it's organizing. There's a lot of emotions all at the same time. Now, my wife, Patty Jean, and I recently moved to North Carolina. Patty Jean wanted to get closer to the kids. I wanted to get closer to Paula and Ralph. So when she suggested it, I said, sure. So that's what we did. We moved, and there's so many things to do once you move. One of the many things that we had to do was to get new license plates for the car. Now, when you get a new license plate, they have three mottos from which you can choose. Patty chose "In God We Trust" on her license plate. I chose "First in Flight." I can't remember what the third one was. And no, Frank, it's not because I'm getting too old to remember. It just doesn't matter, okay? Now, where was I? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyway, North Carolina is very proud to be first in flight. They're the first state where Orville and Wilbur Wright flew the first airplane. And they're very proud of this fact. They're so proud, in fact, that they don't even mention that the Wright brothers were from Ohio. But this is the location where the first airplane was flown, and it was an amazing feat. Now, think with me for just a moment how the conversation between the Wright brothers might have gone that morning. A lot of people don't know this, but Wilbur was the smart one. So Orville was probably the one that initiated the conversation by asking a question. Wilbur, do you think this thing will get off the ground? Will it fly? And Wilbur replies, probably. Well, can we land it? Oh, it's going to land one way or the other. Well, can we steer it? Maybe. Well, this kind of sounds dangerous. Should we invent the seatbelt first? And Wilbur says, seatbelt? That's absurd. That would be like wearing a helmet with a motorcycle. How wimpy. Well, cowabunga then. Let's do it. You first. Isn't that how we have all felt at one time or the other when we're having to do something for the first time? We have that mix of emotions between trepidation and exhilaration. And many of us have been first at several important benchmarks in our lives. Some of us might have been the first one to graduate from college. Some might be the first to graduate from high school even in their family. Now, I think some of us are probably the first one of our family or friends to actually attend a unity function. Those are all good things. On the other hand, some of us, I am sure, and I think we all know who, was the first of their family and friends to try to jump off the roof. Not all first things are turning out well. And I think that's why a lot of us try to avoid being first as much as we can. We might rationally want someone else to make the effort. to show us how it's done, to show us how to steer, and maybe even invent the seatbelt. However, that might not always be advantageous to us, and it may not always be possible. There are situations in which someone has to be first, and that might be us. Now, being first can be hard, and it can be fleeting. Roger Bannister was the first person to run the mile in under 4 minutes. People at the time didn't know that that was possible. It took intense training and a mental toughness in order to do it. Now it's done all the time. Just about every major track meet has somebody running the mile in under 4 minutes. An even better example is Johnny Weissmuller. Now, a lot of people don't know who Johnny Weissmuller is other than the actor who played Tarzan in those old movies. What a lot of people do not know is that Johnny Weissmuller was the premier Olympic swimmer of his time. At the time, he was what Mark Spitz or Michael Phelps would be today. And Johnny Weissmuller was the first person to swim the 100-yard freestyle in under 1 minute. He broke the world record in 1924 by clocking 58.9 seconds. Yet by today's standards, Johnny Weissmuller's broad build and his technique would be considered better for chopping wood rather than swimming. And to illustrate this, at the most recent Virginia State High School Girls Championships, Camille Spink of Battlefield High School won that same race in 49.18 seconds. Camille beat Weissmuller's time by almost 9 seconds. And in a sport where the winners are measured in inches, she would have beaten Weissmuller by about 20 yards. So yes, being first can be hard, and it can be certainly fleeting. But it also may be very rewarding, and it may be necessary. There are situations in which we should feel that we need to be first. On a spiritual level, we may need to be the first to forgive an enemy. Or even harder, we may need to forgive a friend. We may need to alter a family history. Here is a short list of problems which flow from one generation to the other. Alcoholism, obesity, depression, and domestic abuse. Here's a short list of problems which can be resolved by being the first to address them. Alcoholism, obesity, depression, domestic abuse. Someone has to be first, and that may be us. Now, there are other problems that we may feel we need to tackle. Whatever we need to do, whatever we feel that we need to do, the dilemma is that we need to start before knowing exactly how to start. And this requires a boldness of faith and energy. Now, this boldness that we're talking about takes a faith that our purpose can be done and a passion that energizes it. The first bit of good news that I'm going to give you today is that we're in the faith business. This boldness that we're talking about this morning has been written about in the book of Deuteronomy and in the writings of Confucius. Jesus once noted in the book of Luke that a friend will get up in the middle of the night to help another friend if that friend asks with boldness. Our friend is the Christ within, that divine core within ourselves which connects us with God. If it's in the middle of a spiritual night for yourself or a loved one, then we need to boldly ask for guidance in our prayers and in our meditations. Moreover, boldness is also useful in getting other people to help. Doors open when you knock. Goethe once said that there is a genius, a power, and a magic in boldness. We all have genius, power, and magic within us. We just need to get motivated and confident to persistently apply these qualities. That's where our emotions can come into play. Our emotions can help us energize. Now, of course, it's important to note that constant, unbridled emotion is the definition of mental illness. Now, don't everyone point at once. That's not polite. However, emotion does have a place in motivating us to a higher purpose. It is no accident that when we watch an old movie on TV late at night, that the Humane Society will play their fundraising commercials showing us pictures of hurt and abused animals. I can barely stand to watch it without reaching for my wallet. Thank goodness Patty Jean usually has it. But even the emotion of anger, properly channeled, can help us energize and motivate us to a high purpose. Some of us move fastest when we declare, I'm mad as the devil and I'm not going to take it anymore. With our emotions in play, we more easily throw off those limitations that we give ourselves and that others try to foist upon us. Our motivated caring can be a bridge to a guided, sustained passion of love. And it's that sustained, guided passion of love that takes over from our emotions, which becomes the bedrock of excellence. I'm going to wind this up now with just one last suggestion. The Remedies, not long ago, expressed that their music amplified their faith and became an affirmation for them. And this is a universal truth. I believe that this truth is also valid for great art, great architecture, and great prose. People have been using this to augment their passions and their affirmations for quite some time. People use music as a background for their physical workouts, artistic vision boards for their mental quests, and great architecture to enhance their faith. These are immensely useful, and we should use them in our own affirmations. But once again, the key to this is our igniting faith. Jesus told us that all things are possible and that we can live abundantly. We need to believe it just a little bit in order to start. So let's combine our faith with our passions. We'll surround ourselves with affirmations. Let's stack the deck for ourselves. Then let go and let God. Cowabunga. Let's do it. You first. Amen. Thank you.